Welcome to this episode of Evo Inspires. Today, I am lucky enough to be sitting down with Asim. Tell us about yourself.
My name is Asim. I'm a software engineer turned engineering manager, engineering leader, however you want to call it, but I don't write software anymore on a day-to-day basis. My job is more about looking after multiple teams and engineering culture, making our engineering processes better and delivering value to our customers. That's what I do. Currently, I am senior engineering manager at Sinch ClickSend. So we in an SMS business messaging and business communications. And it's an exciting space, and it's a very high traffic, high volume space. A lot of exciting engineering problems to solve. But yeah, so that's who I am. Software engineer at heart, but doing more of a management craft these days.
Awesome. Look, thank you for taking the time, mate, and we'll jump straight in. So what's the one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you when you were first starting out?
I think it'll be very hard to say there's one piece of advice. There will be a lot of them over the time. You go from a software engineer to a engineering management. It's not a promotion. You go from software engineer, senior engineer, and you go to the different track and you start from zero. So it's definitely not a promotion. You're starting off in a new vertical. I learned a lot over the last 6 to 8 years, purely focusing on management. One of the things that I have learned, and I wish someone had given me this advice, was growth is not always vertical. Growth is horizontal as well. So one of the things we can do is, like, you might get to software engineer. Before you think about senior software engineer, you need to go the whole breadth horizontal. You cover all of that breadth before you go to senior, and then you cover the breadth into that each role that you move in. So it's not always vertical, and thinking of a vertical growth creates more stress, and it might also cause some people to move too fast up the levels, where you might feel like, I'm here, but I lack the basics now, so I might as well go back. So really focusing on the horizontal growth in whatever position you are in is key to being a really good software engineer or an engineering manager. So I think that is really important, where we don't chase the titles and hierarchy.
Perfect.
But on top of that,
setting that foundation at every level. So as you step up, you've got that stronger level below you to sort of continue. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that gives you a lot more runway and makes you much more grounded and being able to lead the teams as a leader, because you have covered those breadths. So that is really important. But along those lines as well, I think it's more important to understand that we are not differentiated by titles. So that is my view. And then I asked my engineering managers that I lead also, that the only difference between you and me is that I have different responsibilities, you have different responsibilities. Other than that, we are exactly at the same level. And I don't like to be viewed as a senior who's just got an authority. So that kind of thinking, although there will always be hierarchy in organizations, especially if you have that kind of thinking, then you are more closer to creating a flat organization or a flat hierarchy, where you are just differentiating by your responsibilities. I have certain things I need to do, and you have certain things you need to do. Other than that, it doesn't really matter. So I think that kind of thinking is really, really important. And the last one probably I would add, I know you said one piece, but I'm adding more here. But last one is, I always ask all of my reports and the people I lead that, what is the story you're going to write? Every quarter, every 6 months, every year, when you look back, what is it going to be your story? Is your story going to be, I was just there and I had a job? Or is it going to be, I created something, or I added some value, I was really passionate about that, and we created something together as a team? So what is the story you're going to tell about your last 3 months, last 6 months, and last 1 year? So if you focus on how am I going to tell my story, I think it makes you focus on the things that matters to you. So I think those three things: growth isn't vertical, focus on horizontal. Only differentiation is responsibilities, not the titles. And then always think about what is your story.
Cool. All right. And can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that made a significant impact?
Oh, that's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
I think it was back in 2015, 16, where I joined a company to help them building a construction management system.
Okay.
And there was a lead developer there. I joined to help him, but just me joining 1 week after he decided that he's going to leave. So I was here joining a company, and then I was supposed to be with this lead developer, but he just decides I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So he left and I was just there. So I didn't know what to make of it, but somehow it came to my mind like, hang on, I want to lead this program. I want to lead this software. So I went to my manager at that stage. I went to my CIO and said, look, I want to take lead on this one and I want to be a lead developer on this project. To my surprise, he says, no, you have to be a manager. I'm going to make you development manager.
Okay.
I was shocked, but also that was the pivotal moment which gave me the start on my management career. Obviously, I went through a lot of struggle on what does it mean to be a manager? How do I even get to know that I am doing a good job? What does it mean? Coming from software engineering, it was very hard, but that I would say would be a very pivotal moment. And so far, he's been one of the best managers I've ever had. Not only because he gave me that development manager role, but his way of working was very different in terms of growing people. He didn't focus on your growth within the context of the company. He was really interested in growing you beyond the company. He was more interested in your career. And he had no hesitation on, look, we don't have this role here. Let me connect you to my contacts outside.
Yeah.
He even once, towards the end of my tenure there, he even once connected me to a recruiter outside and said, hey, can you help Asim because he's looking to do this and stuff, which was really surprising to me.
Yeah.
And that is something I've carried on with me even now when I try to think about growth of the people that I lead. I don't think of just keeping them boxed in the company. I want them to grow holistically and then beyond the company. It might be counterintuitive and people might ask, aren't they going to leave? Like, well, if the people are going to leave, they're going to leave. There's nothing you can do about it. What you can do is give them the growth opportunity and make sure that they feel like they are growing beyond the bounds of the company and not just constricted by the technologies or anything that is within the company. So that's, I would say, a very pivotal moment and very significant lesson that I learned.
Perfect. Okay. And how do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
Look, the challenges will grow every day and it never stops. I once felt that, okay, I'm just a newbie in the management field. Maybe once I read all these books and have some experience, I will have much better time, but it doesn't. It's always that. Yeah, you will go from one problem to another one, and you go to more exciting problems. However you want to look at it, might discourage you sometimes, but I think of it as, here's another challenging problem that I have not encountered. Let me learn how to do this. So I think my go-to strategy these days is more about think long term. So you have to compromise. It's all about compromises. You're never going to get your way unless you start your own private company and just want to do whatever you want. When you want to work with team and you want to collaborate and you want to go far and create great things, you have to make compromises. You can't have it just your way all the time. So make compromises in the short term so that you can achieve your goals in the long term. So that is one of my go-to. But also what matters in your life. For a long time, I put all of my happiness chips into my career and job and the work I did, and also having some life outside of that and identifying what are the things that really matters to me is important. And one of the things that I told my report one day last year, this was that job will always be there. She had an anniversary and she had some deployments to do, and said like, no, stop. This deployment can be done tomorrow. nothing's happening from now to tomorrow. The last thing I want you to remember is that you went on this wonderful time on your anniversary, rather than on my anniversary I was busy deploying a code. So getting your priorities right, learning to compromise, is something that I constantly think about to make sure that I keep progressing in my professional life.